Hello everyone, Kevin Eickhoff here. Today I am going to tell the story of how I met Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, how I further met Maharishi Mahesh Yogi from the ethers, and I'll tell the story of that and how I ended up in this house, and also the story of Charlie Lutz, my good friend, my good dear friend, who was a long time ago the president of the Spiritual Regeneration Movement. He was with Maharishi then before it ever became Transcendental Meditation. And I just love Charlie Lutz. We hung out together when he came to this area. I was poor, I could not go out to see him and things, but I'll tell you a little story about Charlie as well. Anyway, I met Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in Madison Square Garden in New York, physically, personally. There was a lot of people there, but if you brought a flower, you could take a flower up to him. But by the time I had gotten up to him, he had so many flowers, he was giving flowers back to the people. And I got a flower from Maharishi. And so after I got that flower, I smelled it, and I had quite the experience from that. But that's what I started with, probably almost 50 years ago. It's Transcendental Meditation. My father took our whole family. It wasn't that expensive back then. It was probably around $35 a piece or so for, like, he did some family plan or something. That's what it probably turned out to be. I know mantras are quite expensive now to get them. But for those who want to do the TM path, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting a mantra and doing that. And, Maharishi once said, that's all you ever really need, just that mantra. And there's truth to that. But I went all the way down that path. I became a siddha, took the siddhis, learned all of those, and back then you had to go for months just to be able to go on to get the first siddhi. Like, you had to do all this clearing and cleansing before you could even get there. So I did all that spiritual work on that path of TM. I did lots of residence courses. I already lived up in the Poconos, and I used to do weekend residence courses all the time up there with people that were up in the Poconos, and had some lovely ones. And way back then, believe it or not, people smoked pipes on the courses. People were eating chicken and fish. They were all part of the course. Then later it generated into vegetarianism, and they have the vegetarian menus and things like this, and so it was a growth. And I got to see how that grew, and I had profound experiences on many of those little weekend retreats and courses that were, I always, as soon as I could get away, I'd get away for those. They were, and I suggest that for anybody on any spiritual path they're doing, to get away. Get away on those courses. Silent courses are some of the best courses there are. I know they used to offer one. I don't know if that's still available, but I highly recommend that. There's some wonderful resonance courses. It's good to get away and do that. Get away from, like, the rest of your life and do some actual spiritual work, some deep core spiritual work. And it's just as good to do it through TM as anyone else. So, everybody's always mine's the best. You know what? The best one is the one that you pick and you stay with consistently. That's the best one. So I try to offer a lot of different things because I've investigated a lot of different things. Became chronically ill, and I investigated a lot of things. But my father took our whole family way back when, and I learned probably when I was about 14, 15, and now I'm 64. So that's how long I've been practicing, and I was a steady practitioner. I was known as the Rock by my friends, because I practiced all the time, and I lived up in the Poconos, and so it was like that was my sanctuary to meditate. From after a long day at work or whatever, or just a stressful time, even in high school or whatever, I would meditate. And so that was one story of how I met Maharishi Mahesh Yogi physically in Madison Square Garden many, many years ago, and I guess that was in the 70s. Or maybe the late 60s. I can't remember the exact date. But this story is how I found this house. I was in a deep meditation, and I saw this dot, this black little dot. And I thought, like in my consciousness, I saw it. And I thought, I wonder what that dot is. You know, I thought that. And as I like focused on the dot started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I realized, oh my God, it's Maharishi with this little man next to him with this like little like roundish hat with a tassel on it. And him and this man were flying in on a cloud to me. And as they got closer, next to Maharishi was this sign, and it said Maharishi Realty on it. Because I was looking for a house. And we needed to move. We were living in Philadelphia, and we needed to move out for better schools and things. That's why we really moved. Better schools for our children. And so we were looking, and it was really hard finding anything. We didn't have a lot of money, and we saved what we could. And anyway, Maharishi came and with this sign, and he's laughing. He's just laughing. And I said, Maharishi, what's up with the Maharishi Realty? I go, what's this? You know, and he said, I came to tell you to buy that house. Now, I had been driving past the house that we're presently living in, because I used to go this way to work all the time, and I worked at Bryn Mawr Hospital in pediatrics and in psychiatry there as a nurse. And so the thing is, I passed this house all the time, and we always thought it was way too expensive. My wife didn't really want to look at it because it used to be a doctor's house, and it was built by a doctor before that. So we're the third owners of the house. But the thing is she didn't really want to look, and it's still a doctor's office in here. And so that's part of why she didn't want to take a look at it. But I convinced her, especially after this vision of Maharishi coming to me and saying, buy that house. And I knew what house he meant because I really wanted my wife to look at it. And the thing is, you know, masters can come to you at any time they choose. That's why they say, you know, when you're ready for the teaching, the master will come. That's what they're talking about. The master will come to you in silence. The final teachings from a master to his student are through the silence. The silent teachings are the most powerful, the most profound. I don't tell too many of the stories about them. This is one of them. I purchased this house after my wife looked at it, and she just fell in love with it instantly. And it just turns out, you know, we're nurses. It was owned by a doctor before. It has a good, strong medical history to it. And, you know, when you purchase something, you should purchase something that you're thinking about spiritually, because that's also a form. Spirituality runs, it's like a vein that runs through the mountain, like coal or gold or whatever. It runs right to the core. And you should have that to the core. Your spirituality should come from the core, from the heart, and no matter what you do in your life, you're finding your spiritual partner, your lover, whatever that is, spiritually based. Your vacations, whatever you do, they should be spiritually based. What you do in life should be spiritually based. Your whole thinking should be spiritually based. But this was the start of my real spiritual kind of movement in this body, in this life. And now I would like to tell you a story about Charlie Lutz. Charlie Lutz was the president of Spiritual Regeneration Movement. He became friends with Maharishi early on, and they were trying to build this practice of giving meditation to the world. It was offered freely, and nobody was coming or even showing up. And so there was a great difficulty in it. And so, but Charlie was actually a great mystic and left the mystical order when Maharishi asked him to ask the mystic order which one to follow, him or the mystic order, which one was more pure. And the mystical order told Charlie, follow Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he's purer than what we have from the teachings we have to offer you. And so many times I sat right across from Charlie eating, meals, dinner, right here in New Jersey. He would often come here and rent a place. There'd be like a whole little conference for a whole bunch of people. And so that's how I saw Charlie, that's how I knew him. This is the first time I'm really sharing this particular picture. It's from an old camera, but it kind of has like a double focus. Like Charlie posed for that for me. Like, it's a special picture, if you know what I'm saying to you. And so, anyhow, you can look up Charlie. I'll provide a link on here that you can find who Charlie was and some of his mystical teachings and things that he did and said, and he was just a profound man to know. I had wonderful experience with Charlie, wonderful experiences. And same thing with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and especially Guru Dev. And I have a thing on here how I actually met Guru Dev. He came down to thank me one time for being able to say and develop his puja. And so anyhow, this is my story. I wish everyone a happy Guru Purnima 2021. I know for some it's a difficult time. And so stay steady with your practice, consistent, and just make that practice sort of the centerpiece in your house. Some people buy an artwork and for millions of dollars and they build their whole house around it because that's the centerpiece. So make meditation the centerpiece of your life and build your life around that. And continue to work, continue to be active, continue to do the things you've always done, but always have the goal of self-realization and God-realization. And you may outgrow meditation, transcendental meditation. It's possible. I outgrew it. I went on to something else. But there's those, getting on that path of meditation is very, very important in this life. It will help you. And so the sooner you do it, and it's never too late, you could be 100 years old and learn to meditate. And anything's possible. Anything. Who knows, maybe you learn that meditation in 100 years and you go into Mahasamadhi and meet the Creator, and depending on how pure your heart is, maybe you'll be taken away off this planet somewhere else. Something better. Anyhow, I wish everybody a happy Guru Purnima. May everyone have a good, steady, strong practice. May you all become the Rock of Gibraltar in your practices. Jai Guru Dev. Namaste. Jai Bhagwan. May you all see the light within each other, and may you all help with each other with their own spiritual paths to develop further and better, as that will help you too. May you have a blessed Guru Purnima.